Okay, perfect, thank you. Thanks for the introduction, Himanshu. That was a very fantastic talk. It's hard to follow. Can one of you come here and talk with me? Okay, well, this research investigates how social computing and crowdsourcing techniques can empower the public to participate in shaping urban design ideas. Traditionally, public are engaged in civic decisions through face-to-face methods, such as public hearing. But researchers have argued that legally required participation method in the US, like public hearings and comment and review sessions, not only do not meet the most basic goals for public participation, but they're also counterproductive, leaving people with anger, mistrust, tension, and revolt. These methods do not satisfy members of the public that they are being heard. They seldom can be said to improve the decision that agencies and public officials make, and they do not incorporate a broad spectrum of the public. How many of you have been to San Diego? Quite a few. How many of you have heard of this beautiful curved bridge? Yeah, good. It's called Coronado Bridge. And right under the other side of the bridge, there is a park with a really interesting history that I would like to share with you. It's called Chicano Park. And I think this history of the park exemplifies many of the issues that I just talked about. By the time the San Diego Coronado Bridge opened in the summer of 1969, the city announced plans to build a substation below the bridge, whereas they had previously promised the local to build a park for them. So what happened was that locals staged a 12-day occupation of the park. They stood there and locked their hands and blocked the tractors and stayed there for 12 days. And this led to takeover of the park, of course, after many, many years of struggle. And nowadays, this is Chicano Park. This is one of the landmarks in San Diego with many beautiful murals and historical painting. But every time I see this picture side by side, and I'm thinking, what happened if city officials can work with people hand in hand and can involve them in those decisions? They can perhaps come up with more innovative ideas. Do you think it's any better nowadays? 48 years later, I just had a video of one of the representatives of the same community called Barrio Logan, who stood up in one of the workshops that I attended personally and said,
I can see that there's a plan that's going on here, and our community has no notion of it. We haven't been approached by anyone about this. So it's interesting because we have a lot of visions for our community. Okay, we have a lot of plans, and for a long time we've been trying to separate ourselves from downtown. We want it to be different, right? Because it is. You come to Barrio Logan, you normally.
So he goes on and he says, if there are a lot of beautiful plans and people want to put money into it, allow us to be the one to plan it. That issue is still going on. Why is engaging the public important? Because they have a lot of local knowledge, and it saves a lot of time and money for government as well, and it impacts social good. If you're designing for the public, you must ask what they want in the first place. I must say there are other face-to-face methods besides town hall and hearings and comments, such as public workshops, which are much more engaging. So there are lots of hands-on activity to engage the public in that process, but they're also limited. First, it's hard to engage representative population. They cannot possibly hear out everyone's comment. And even if they do, there is no good way to capture and play back for people who couldn't make it to those public workshops. So the question is, how can we broaden public engagement to address some of these issues? There are online tools for public participation. For example, Plan Your Place was built for everyday people to participate in urban design process. But the authors themselves found that people needed to invest more time, and it required some expertise for everyday citizens to understand and participate in that tool. There are other tools. Wiki Survey is a very good example of tools. It's an online survey, basically. It's a pairwise comparison, so people can vote for any of those ideas, or they can even come up with their own idea. So it's a very fast way. It doesn't require a lot of time or expertise. My critique for that is that it's only limited to opinion polling. Our survey in San Diego showed that people are getting really frustrated with providing ideas and issues that goes nowhere. They want to be part of those decision-making processes rather than merely providing issues as sensors. So with that, our research question is, how can we create a system for in-person and online interaction that captures quality feedback, but in a short amount of time? And our vision is building a system that can democratize access from those limited people who can attend public workshops personally and create a few ideas, and then maybe take it out there in an online platform that everyone can access and see those ideas. They can elaborate those ideas. They can improve those. They can come up with better ideas. And then even there could be a loop back to the maybe next public workshop where people can see all of those ideas and vote on which idea might work best for their community. So with that, we developed CommunityCrit with several considerations, including, first of all, we wanted to provide a quick, flexible, and a straightforward workflow. We wanted to break down the complexity of urban design by designing simple and understandable questions for members of the public, providing people with a summary of their contribution, as well as a view of others' contribution to expose people to diverse point of views. And we also wanted to send people directly into quick tasks. So here's CommunityCrit. It is available online. In order to lower the barrier for the public, it works on a variety of devices, including smartphones. The platform gives people a brief introduction on the challenge and sends them directly to tasks. For this study, we focus on developing concepts for a particular intersection in San Diego, which is called El Nodillo by locals. And I'll describe the design context more in a few minutes. So how it works is, first of all, CommunityCrit structures a process where participants can choose one idea. And it could be one idea that has been proposed through a public workshop or idea that has been proposed through the online tool. And then they can, borrowing principles from crowdsourcing, the system delivers a set of 5 activities. And those activities are like, how can you improve the idea? How do you evaluate the ideas? Or based on criteria such as, what is the impact of this idea on quality of your life? They can also post their questions for community members, so other community members can answer their questions. And people can skip questions if they're not comfortable answering. And after 5 tasks, they're basically done. And it's up to them to continue or just end. They can also submit their own idea, give it a name, add a picture for it, so others can see those ideas and comment and evaluate and improve those ideas. And then at the end, they get to see a full set of ideas. And they can repeat this process of doing activities for as many times as they want. For each idea, they can see how many people have been involved in commenting or in that particular idea, and from there, they can even start doing activities. As part of our method, we partnered with a local planning team in San Diego. We designed and developed a tool and deployed it in the wild. For deploying in the wild, we put a lot of time and energy to get participants from the neighborhood and also to interview them about the tool, how they want the tool to be designed, what are the problems with the tool, how can we make it better. And at the end, we also interviewed and get experts' feedback on participants' ideas and how it can be helpful for their project. So here's a map that shows our design case, El Nodillo. That red dot is where exactly the intersection is. It's a key intersection in San Diego. But it also, what is important about this key intersection, it kind of is at the border of two different neighborhoods. The blue one is East Village, which is a wide, affluent community. And the red one is Barrio Logan, which I just talked about, with Chicano working class community. This is a picture of the first public workshop that we attended as part of our process. And the planning group hosted this workshop on June 10 last year to get people input on how to activate the area and how they can make it more bikeable, more walkable, more engaging area for residents. We attended this session and video recorded people's comments and interactions. During the workshop, we observed some tension between East Village and Barrio Logan. The video that I showed at the beginning of the talk was from this workshop, where Hector stood up, who's a leader from Barrio Logan community, and he said, we feel we've been neglected, we haven't been part of the design. During the workshop, we also surveyed participants and asked people's feedback on both the face-to-face work process and asked their opinion about potential of online tools. And almost everyone that filled the survey said they have the means to use the technology and they're willing to use it because they have a lot of problem coming to those workshops due to a scheduling problem. The leader from the Barrio Logan also said, we've been always neglected, so this tool can empower us to have a say, which all of these feedback motivated us to build a tool. As a result, we got 21 ideas from different sources. The first one was from the first public workshop, where we video recorded all of the comments, transcribed them, and seeded those ideas to CommunityCrit so everyone else could see those ideas. Then 10 ideas were proposed through the CommunityCrit, and 7 more ideas during the next design workshops. Here are some examples. For example, the first public workshop was, people were like, let's build a tower in the middle of El Nodillo. And then people were like, you know what? We don't want any statue, anything in the middle. We just want a small park for our children to play, somewhere that really easy to make and maintain. And then the designer were like, let's build a platform that is connected with multiple bridges and it activates the neighborhood. But of course, it takes much longer time to build such ideas. And then in like 4 weeks, we got 352 contributions from people, from 39 people, which according to planning team was really fantastic. We evaluated the tool and by interviewing participants, and we learned they found the tool empowering, easy, and straightforward. One said, I don't have time to go to workshops, so it provides opportunity to give feedback. And the other said, I liked only having to answer 5 questions. I've conducted a lengthy survey myself and taught them to be excessive to the point of endangering the quality of data collection. We also talked to the expert planners who were leading this effort. On one hand, one expert thought CommunityCrit engaged community in conversation. He said it turned complaint to conversation. However, another thought asking the public for input is not a good idea. He said it gives a voice to people who are too lazy to get off the couch and come to the workshop. And he was like, to do this right, you need to get beyond people making decisions based on a picture. They need more time, and so on. So there were some tension as expected between how experts view community input. In conclusion, CommunityCrit was successful in scaling and diversifying participation and engaging people to improve and evaluate ideas rather than merely voicing their issues. What this project offers is increasingly important in the way that we think about the future of engaging community in civic decisions. I think that CommunityCrit is just one approach for exploring complex problems where there are diverse audiences with different background and expertise. There are tons of work to do in this area. For instance, we identified several key areas for future work, such as how we can support the broader urban design process and empower people to make decisions, to write proposals collaboratively, how we can make authoring interface for supporting multiple projects, or addressing marginalized perspective, or making sense of all of those input. For example, when we represent this back to the expert, they were like, this is fantastic, especially for community member. There are pictures, it's engaging, there's a little bit of description, but we don't have time to go through all of those comments and make sense of what's people's reaction. So they needed, I think this needs more investigation in how we can make better tools for decision makers to make sense of people's comments. And with that, I would like to thank you for your time and my co-authors. One of them is here for the first time in Kai, and she's an undergrad who interned during the summer for this project. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions? Please do state your name and affiliation.
Hello, I'm Neil Maiden from City University of London. I guess I'm speaking more as someone who's tried to, or has ran projects like this in London, is local redesign. And I think one of the real challenges is how you engage mass participation. It's quite easy, I think, to get 10, 20, 50 people to engage. But that still leaves most of the community marginalized. So if you've got any sense of how this could scale up to thousands of people giving feedback, which is, I think, really how you're going to get away from the problem of the dialogue being still managed by a small, often busybody type people, well-intentioned, but they dictate the policy and the direction.
Absolutely. I do believe that this online tool can only broaden the access. So definitely more people can access those ideas at the comfort of sitting at their home and looking at those ideas, but it doesn't solve the marginalized perspective. That's why I propose it as a whole new direction of research to understand. What we did, we translated everything on our survey tools to Spanish, and we took it to one of their face-to-face meetings because they could use it on their smartphone, and we surveyed the community, and they said almost everyone has access to a smartphone. So I think there must be more research to understanding how we can incentivize people to participate and how we can increase participation.
Yeah, it seems to be needs to be part of social networks, getting local community leaders, and that's still, I think, an ongoing challenge.
Absolutely.
I have a question about how early in the process, like let's say at time T, a project is initiated related to some urban landmark. Can we engage the community even before that to kind of identify problems, or not after the project has been initiated or commissioned by the state? Or
yeah, that's a very good question, and that was my ideal goal, to start surveying people, like need-finding process, understanding what people really want. But this project had already started, and we partnered with them, and we thought we can help them with providing. But the best case scenario would be to start with what do you really want as a community? What do you value? And I agree with you. That would be most valuable.
Thank you very much. We have one more question. Yes.
Yeah, okay, great. Hey, Lydia Chilton from Columbia University. I'm really inspired by this. I'm so glad that you're getting out there and doing it. I've seen Parks and Recreation, so I know this is very difficult. I think it's cool that you're getting people engaged and democratizing this, and I believe all of your arguments about that. I also see where the urban designers are coming from, where like they would like to see people who are more fully engaged. Could you see any sort of path to get people to level up in their engagement is starting with this? Or how do you see building this up to getting a community to really do it maybe by themselves?
I'm not sure. That's a very good question. I think it definitely needs further, but I think investigation, but I think social network, for example, getting people to know each other through a platform that engages people with their neighbors and community members and people who are thinking in the same way. For example, one of our future approach was like understanding people's interests, and based on people's interests, maybe recommending some tasks, maybe sending some questions to people based on their emails. I don't know. There are many, many different approaches. We were thinking of sending our, tools to Nextdoor because most people nowadays have access to Nextdoor, and there are a lot of, community-oriented discussion there.
What is Nextdoor?
Nextdoor.com is a website in the US. I'm not sure if it's anywhere else as well, which is for community members to basically have the social interaction around their neighborhood issues.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. With this, thank all our presenting authors for their incredible work and their talks. And let's thank them all. And now you can proceed to the coffee break in the foyer just out.